So, it's Catherine. I'm back again, and I'm here now. We have a couple of guests this evening, so our format's going to change a little bit. And right now we have Sanford Dicker, also a friend, initially, I think, from Twitter, and he has an amazing initiative.
Let me be clear, it's not my initiative, it's a group of volunteers.
You talked about it.
So summary, about 3 weeks ago, on a blog called Tech President, two people, Allison Fine and Nancy Scola, discussed how could you use Twitter or other services out there to report on the status of polling places. So instead of actually relying on people with just video cameras or poll watchers, why couldn't anybody who is voting comment on what's happening? And so just like we do with Twitter, allowing people to tell you about what's happening in their lives, why not allow people on the polling place to say, the machines are slow, there's problems happening, it's a long wait, switch to another place. Giving a possibility of the entire citizenry the ability to protect our democracy. And so a group of volunteers, it's about 20 or 30 people that are on a mailing list, using a wiki and so on and so forth, have created Twitter Vote Report.
So is this a separate Twitter application, or is it within?
It's within Twitter. All you simply have to do is that if you want to report on the vote, you just write in a Twitter message, or there are other ways of doing it, pound, little hash symbol,
Right.
vote report, and then you write information in your tweet or your SMS message. The idea then is that we have a back-end service that's tracking all of the tweets, and then we put it up in a map, we put it up in a listing, and there are other services that we're building out.
So let me ask you this, because there's a lot of people out there, I know there's a lot of Twitterers out there, and there's a lot of people going, what the heck are you talking about? Will you explain to people what Twitter is?
Okay, so Twitter, if you've already been playing with text messaging or SMS, the idea that you send out a small message to your friends, you're writing someone like an instant message, is the way that Twitter got started. You could actually create a buddy list of people who are listening to your tweets, and then you can tell people what's happening in your life. So for a simple 140-character message, I could tell people, for example, what I did today is that I was here, so I gave everybody the URL on the 600 people that are following me on Twitter. So now those 600 people, if they're following, get the message that something's happening, they'll come here, and it's called microblogging. So instead of having to write a super long document, 140 characters gives people an instant status update.
And how much does it cost?
Nothing.
Costs nothing?
Well, if you pay for all you can eat SMSs. Now,
I don't actually use it for SMSing at all. I do it all browser-based, so it doesn't cost me a penny. So.
Doesn't cost you anything. And then they did have an instant message service, which I don't know if it's still happening.
Know.
It was working, and I think they ran out of capacity. They're fixing that out.
Okay, so now also, crowdsourcing. That's a term I'm really used to, but probably a lot of people might not be used to it. What is crowdsourcing? Why is that so powerful?
Okay, so crowdsourcing, the idea is that if you think of outsourcing, which is we take our services outside of the country, or we do home sourcing, which is we do the work in home, the idea of crowdsourcing is requesting from the wisdom of the crowd. If you're watching Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and you ask the audience for an answer, that's essentially the concept of crowdsourcing. You're relying on the social capital and goodwill of the community to generate answers or information for the good of the common. And so, in this case, asking everybody in the country to go to twittervotereport.com to learn about the different ways you can message using SMS. You can even phone. We have an IVRU, which is an interactive voice response system.
So you can pick up your phone and call this number, and it will make the report for you.
Yes.
It turns it into text?
It turns it into text. There's a couple of services that are coming out. We have an iPhone app, so if you're an iPhone fan. We even just launched with one of the gentlemen an Android app.
Oh.
As in literally, once we got the iPhone app done, less than 12 hours, we had an Android
And
app.
Android is the Google phone
Yes.
for people who...
And so the idea, and to be careful though, because a lot of people go, wait, this sounds very techy. You do the same thing with instant messaging. You talk to people on AIM, you talk to people on MSN, Yahoo. This is the same service, but you're doing it on your phone with a simple text message, whether it's a smartphone or a regular phone. The goal is to communicate about what's happening. And your time that you do it is about the same time you're waiting to do the vote. You're telling people what's happening. So you're giving everyone that's coming to the poll information of what's happening there.
Oh, that's great. So like if I was in Nebraska and I was in a small town in the northwestern corner of Nebraska and I wanted to know if this was a good time to go to the polls or if the lines were really long, I could check the Twitter vote report and it would tell me.
It would give you a sense. You could zoom in on the map. You could actually do a self-selection, hopefully, on what is going on in Nebraska? We don't know because what we're doing, and literally every day we launch out new interfaces because the community, and we are asking for more programmers and more people who are used to doing this development, are putting in new interfaces. So we'll have, knock on wood, a visual map that's showing live tweets that you could zoom in on
that's
to
fantastic.
look in a specific area. We also will need help on what we call sweepers. A lot of the data is going to come in that's going to be kind of funny, so we need people to actually look over the data and correct it
And you
as
need
it goes into the
volunteers
system.
to do that.
Volunteers, and you can do it anywhere.
And what kind of person is qualified to volunteer for that?
Computer.
That's what I like.
Yeah, computer, internet access, and you are someone that you can talk to us on the phone because we want to get
So
to
you
know
don't need
you
to be a
and speak to you.
techie. Like you don't need
No
to understand
techie.
code, and you don't need to like know what an href is. You just need to be able to read.
Read a message,
Okay.
figure out what they're saying, and correct it.
Okay.
And then we have one other thing, which is the data analyst, which will be the people who are watching the overall information to be able to call the voter protection groups to make sure that if something is
That's my
going
next
wrong and they're
question.
not aware of it, we're going to send messages to them.
That was my next question. So how do you use this information? Let's say we have another Florida. How are you using this information to maybe make a difference this time?
I don't know yet because the real fact is we built the system, and I should say the team built the system to aggregate the data and to see what would happen in the world. As in, if you had all of this information available, how could you make it effective? So we've been working with various anti-voter suppression units, election protection groups,
Yeah.
working with them and their needs and gathering the requirements and creating services that'll work to their benefit. They already have a lot of processes in place, and this is just an add-on.
Right.
The real goal is the citizenry, us, you and I. I'm not with a voter protection group, and I don't believe anyone else in the organization, or I should say the volunteers, are. They're all concerned American citizens who wanted to make something happen to protect our vote. Because of the frustrations that have occurred, video's difficult sometimes to upload. You can't guarantee a telephone call. If you call 866 our vote, that's the election protection line. But what if their lines are jammed? With Twitter, you're able to do it at any time, asynchronously, 140 characters. There's a number of ways of making sure it gets through. And now we have the chance to be part of the global conversation.
And that's what, to me, like, and this is like my platform, but to me, like, technology makes it possible. For people like me, I'm a woman in New York City with no money to make an 8-hour webathon, and we have had thousands of people come here today and express their views, and that will have an effect on the populace at large. And we've done it for almost nothing with almost all free tools. So, and this is the same idea, like
Yeah.
Joe Blow, the plumber.
Well,
Can
by the way, he
really-
could be a builder too.
He could be a builder. He can actually make an effective, take an effective action that can change the course of our country.
And the idea this time is that most people complain about when you vote, my vote's not going to count. But standing online, I mean, there was a article written, or excuse me, a video done on CNN the first day early voting was happening in Florida. And the joke was that you had to wait 3 hours to get into the early voting station. And that's because the supervisor of elections in Broward had not put enough in. There were various other issues going on. But if you had known that there was a 3-hour wait and could figure out that you could go either earlier or later or at a certain time, then you might go at a better time so that the lines even out. That's the idea of crowdsourcing. That's what we do in the cars when we're listening to the station telling us about traffic patterns. This is that kind of concept.
So what do people need to do to learn more about this?
Okay, so Twitter, votereport.com. So it's TWITTER, votereport.com.
Great. And Sanford's going to stick around a little bit and read some letters, even though he's not a woman. We like to hear some men's
Thank you for telling me that.
Yeah, you're not.
I was worried.
Okay. So if you have any questions, put them in the chat room. We'll try to answer them, or email me and at Catherine@womenrespondtopalin.com, and we'll try to get back to you. And please keep sending in your responses. And now back to our regular program.